Hi there, my name is Memo. This is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So are you the kind of individual that loves your aroid mixes, you are a die-hard kind of soil mix fanatic, and really haven't got into the semi-hydro side of things? That's absolutely fine. I use both substrates in my space. But today I've got a bit of a treat for the people that are the soil fanatics. I got sent a really cool package from a really amazing UK-based company. I think the company's run by just Joseph, but there's two people that I'm aware that are involved, so it's Joseph and Kyle. And I've met both Joseph and Kyle in previous events and kind of more social settings as well. So I know that they've had their store, they set it up a couple of years back, I think now, and it's predominantly dealing with houseplants and some of the rare houseplants that might be on the market, but they are now dipping their toes into doing their own soil mixes. So I actually had Joseph reach out to me and kind of say, you know what, we've made these soil mixes. Would you be comfortable for us to send you some and you can try them out? But you know what, this is a great opportunity to share with all of you, essentially. So I said, you know what, send them over, and as long as you're comfortable, I'll do a video and I can kind of unbox the soil mixes with all of you here basically, and we can kind of chat through it. I want to do a bit of an experiment. There's two different soil mixes that Joseph sent over. I think one is the general soil mix and the other one is their premium soil mix, and we'll dive into that in just a moment. But oh, for the people that have been here for a while, this is some of the last few chunks that are left over from the Berlin Marks variegata. Neither one of these are variegated, but I kept loads of variegated cuttings and I kept some kind of reverted cuttings. And these have been rooting up quite nicely. You might be able to see some amazing roots there. So I thought, you know what, let's do a bit of an experiment. Maybe make this video kind of a two-parter, or it might just be that you'll get an update in another one of the videos. So I have got my trusty plastic cups with some drainage holes cut at the bottom, and I've got one label because I am lazy and I could have done another one, but I've just got the one. This one says general. So what I want us to do today is, after obviously we unbox, let's pot up those two cuttings, one in the kind of general mix, one in the premium mix, and see how they fare over the next few weeks, how things root out. Is there any difference in the speed of growth? And the reason why I want to use the clear pots, basically, or the clear cups, is to kind of be able to see some of those roots and be able to see what is happening within the soil. But before we get into any of that, let's look at some of the more basics. Actually, let me bring up the soil mix and let's unbox it together. The other thing that is worth noting, actually, before we look at unboxing this, is that Joseph and Kyle in the Planetary Prescription is now kind of, I think, working alongside another entity that has just emerged. There will be more information that's coming up on this called a Planty Impact. I will add links to all of these things down below. This is a really interesting video because technically it's not sponsored, but they did send me the soil to try out. They didn't ask for a review or even an unboxing, but I thought, you know what? Let's do kind of both. The review will probably come in after, when we know what's happening with the plants. But let me bring up the soil mixes and let's unbox them together. Oh, big box. But yeah, this, this the reality with this is this has been sitting for a couple of days. I think this got delivered a couple of days ago, but work week just before a bank holiday. So I'm just like, this is going to happen over the weekend. It can wait. But I thought I'd open it up really quickly then, just to make sure that everything arrived properly and all of these things, just so I can at least confirm to the team at a Planty Prescription that everything is fine, basically. So it's nice. I like the fact that they went the extra mile for the packaging, even though it is just a soil mix, basically, so nothing's going to get bashed around too much. So we have got some lovely peppers just to keep everything together, and there are 4 bags actually, which is kind of cool. So I'm assuming they sent me two of each. So this one is the General Houseplant mix. I'll bring this up so you can see in just a second. And then that's premium, another premium, and a general. So two of each, basically. And there is more of that packaging at the bottom, which is quite cool. I quite like, I'm assuming they've actually done the labels themselves because it does say, I like it, it says, I might have to flip the screen for this one, but it does say, please handle with care, and there's a little leaf there, and it's got their Instagram handle, and it says from the roots up, which I quite like. I think it might be their kind of slogan. But as I said, I'll link their website down below. So obviously we all know that it is crucial to get the right soil mix for your specific plants, for your specific conditions, and also your specific care. We've talked about this in a lot of my other videos. I'm not going to kind of rehash all of that now, but it is important to also say that, and I think I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, the parameter that you also need to be aware of is yourself. So how do you behave with your plants? So are you an overwaterer? Are you an underwaterer? And kind of make adjustments. It might not necessarily be with the soil, but it might be in the way that where the plants might be placed, or kind of how often you might care for them. So that's the one thing that you always need to remember with these things is I can only talk from my experiences, and for the people that have been here for a while, they know that I am an overwaterer for my sins. So yeah, just thought I'd kind of put that out there. And obviously knowing that something like a soil mix does need to be airy and fluffy and needs to have a lot of the other parameters, which the team at Planty Prescription have really done quite well. And I've just realized I kept calling them Planty Prescription. It's a plant prescription because this dum-dum on a Sunday morning isn't quite awake yet. I do have a coffee here, but I am kind of still going. Obviously, it's the Planty Impact and then the a plant prescription, and it's apparently too much for my little brain to function on a Sunday morning. So bear with. So let's have a look first at their general soil mix. So I'll bring it up so you might be able to see, hopefully it's not reflecting too much. It is in a clear plastic bag. So I'll give you a bit of an understanding of what it's saying at the back of the actual packaging so you kind of know what you're getting. They kind of mentioned that their base is composed of cocoa coir, like a lot of these bases tend to be. They've also added in tree bark for that kind of the drainage element, which we all know is quite good and quite important with a lot of our houseplants, especially the ones that are aroid, because they do need some kind of air to happen around their roots just to keep them happy. They've also got things like charcoal. So I am a huge fan of any soil mix that has a good bit of charcoal because it does help to maybe stave off some of that bacteria that might be within the soil. And then they have got worm castings in here. So everybody knows that I'm a fan of worm castings because it can act as a bit of a kind of weaker but still good to have in there natural fertilizer in the soil mix, which is fantastic. And they obviously say that their general mix is kind of more versatile, so it will be more for the majority of houseplants that we might find around the trade and around our collection. So the philodendrons, the monsteras, the anthuriums, the epipremnums. I'm kind of looking at it going so I don't forget anything. And yeah, I think this is quite a cool little soil mix. And essentially some of the things that they say about this more kind of general mix, it's kind of like the base, kind of the perfect base mix. And essentially, I think what they're trying to say there is this is a good place to start. And obviously, if you want to make some amendments of your own, you can, but this has got the basis of what you'll kind of need for most of your house plants. I'm kind of opening up the package now, and it is a good mix. I'll see if I can bring it up. Hopefully that will I'll hide my face. So you might be able to see what that soil mix looks like. And it is quite good. It is very, very, very fluffy, and I do like it. And good thing is as well, they've got nice chunky bits in the soil mix as well. One of the things that they really do kind of emphasize on their soil mix for this more general one is that they kind of use as high quality ingredients as they could possibly get with a more of a simplified makeup as well. Because again, it's what I'm saying, this is a general one. So if you potentially want to make some amendments, or if you just are getting started and you don't want to think too hard about what's in it or what's not, this is a good place to start. And the thing that they really want to do with it, and I get it, it kind of makes sense for companies if they're bringing in a bit of a soil mix to not just do the one, but to have multiples. But this would obviously be the more bread and butter. This is the good, perfect kind of base mix with as kind of high quality ingredients as they can get in there to set you up as much as possible with success with your specific plants. And I would imagine as well, again, I'll see if I can find the links to the products as well and add it down below. But this would probably be the more budget-friendly option as well. And it's a decent size bag as well. So it's, I don't know how much it would weigh or the literage of this, but this is quite decent actually. So this would definitely do a couple of pots at least, basically. So perfect for people that might be living in big cities and they don't have an awful lot of space. I mean, I live in the countryside, so big bags of everything. But I remember well living in a one-bedroom apartment in London, and I think it was a grand total of 30 square meters. So space was limited. This would have been great. And then we've got their premium soil mix, basically, and they kind of class this as the champion. Ooh, and I missed this entirely on the general one. The general one is the all-rounder. I quite like that. But let's have a look at this one. I'll give you a bit of a peek at the soil mix. Oh yeah, this is fluffy. This is good. I would imagine looking at this, this would be really, really good for something like anthuriums. But let me just kind of show you really quickly, and you can kind of see very, very, very loose and very, very cool actually with this one. So let me see the back and see what more they say about this. So So this one, they've obviously packed in their most premium ingredients. And this is interesting because this one also have lava rock instead of pumice. So I quite like that because I don't see a lot of lava rock being used in kind of preset soil mixes. You might get sometimes where there's a bit of leca or maybe some pumice if you're really lucky. But very rarely do you see lava rock. And I do love a good bit of lava rock if you can get it in a soil mix because it does again help with that kind of aeration, a bit of that because of all those little grooves. And I'll see if I've got a video close up and I'll add it at the top there on kind of how it captures some of that moisture as well, because it's got those kind of little craters within the structure of the substrate. So I think that's kind of good. Interestingly, did not know this, looking at this, because they're saying obviously they've got lava rocks for some of that nutrient retention, and it also acts a bit like a natural fertilizer. That's kind of cool. I did not know this. Maybe it might be something to do with the minerals that are within the lava rocks themselves. So very, very cool. But obviously this one is another one that's not necessarily limited, but it can be for a whole bunch of things like monsteras, philodendrons, anthuriums, erybremnums, obviously a lot of the plants that we're kind of used to having in our collections. But this looks super cool. I really like this. Really, really, really like this. I would also imagine, because I was debating on what plant I was going to do the little experiment with for this video, and I was actually thinking about doing it on an alocasia. Interestingly, for me, looking at the two kind of the compositions, words are hard on a Sunday morning, apparently. The composition of both of these soil mixes, I would say the general one, the first one that we looked at, would be really good for something like alocasias, because it would probably retain some of that moisture a bit more. This is exceptionally airy, so this I think would work quite nicely with plants that I've got the chunkier roots and also potentially plants that are prone towards maybe a bit of root rot, basically, because this one obviously is just a lot fluffier, essentially. So with the premium mix, I would imagine you'd get kind of faster root growth and kind of more vigorous foliage because again, it's got all of that aeration within that soil mix. So I think that would be quite cool. So on the general soil mix, let's kind of have a look at all the ingredients and go through them together, shall we? So they've got peppercorn in this, they've got tree bark in this, they've got worm castings and activated charcoal, which is, I think, a great mix to have actually. It's ticking a lot of the boxes with all those different ingredients. Namely, some of the benefits is it would have good drainage, but also some water retention. The bacteria will be kept aside as much as possible by some of that activated charcoal, that kind of horticultural charcoal that's in there. And obviously the worm castings will act as a bit of a natural fertilizer. With this one, as I said, obviously this is a great one if you want to do additives in. So for instance, you might want to add some slow release fertilizer if you choose to do so to kind of enhance that worm casting element there as well. You might want to do things like I like adding in mycorrhizal fungi just because it will help that kind of soil structure as well. And you can add more perlite if you want to make this kind of a lot airier as well. So if your budget can't stretch for the premium mix, but potentially you want this to be a bit fluffier and you've got some perlite lying around, you could always amend that with this as well. So this is, I get it. I get why they were like, this is a good base mix to have because you can kind of create changes to it. And actually, to be thinking about it, even with the premium one, you could always add more moisture retaining elements in there if you wanted to do that for that plant, basically. So looking at the premium mix as well. So I'm looking at it. It's really cool, actually. They've got the ingredients. I keep looking at this and not showing you. Let me see. And I don't know whether I'm going to need to flip this. Probably. But it's nice because they've got their mix. And I wonder whether or not that diagram schematic is also giving us a bit of a hint about the kind of ratios that they've used there as well. So this one's got cocoa husk, it's got cocoa coir, it's got the lava rock there, it's got the charcoal, it's got the tree bark, and it's got the worm castings as well. So there's more in this as well. And actually that cocoa husk is really helping create those pockets of air within the soil mix itself. So based on their experimentation, because I think they've done quite a bit of experimentation on these soil mixes before they brought them out, they've kind of said that this is the perfect ratio in terms of both root growth and kind of foliage growth on top as well. This has still got, apparently, maybe I was wrong. Yeah, there's some more of the 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 substance down the bottom, basically. So there's more of the cocoa coir at the bottom, and I think maybe it's just all the fluffy bits have kind of risen to the top. So that's a top tip I would say. Whenever you get soil mixes like this, stick something inside and give it a good bit of a mix, just so that it's about as homogeneous. Homogeneous is the word, and that's how you say it. Thick. But yeah, a bit more of a homogeneous mix before you use it in, just to make sure that everything is incorporated as much as possible. This obviously would have that excellent drainage because of how chunky it is. And what I mentioned before, that lava rock addition instead of pumice, I think is kind of cool on this one. So a nice ingredient to have in a pre-mixed soil mix. So one of the things that the team did say about their premium mix is that they've kind of went above and beyond in terms of getting the most premium ingredients that they can to add into this. It would make sense. I would imagine price-wise that this would be slightly more expensive than the general mix. And they did a lot of experimentation to make sure that this works as perfectly as it possibly can, which I do appreciate, because if you're getting something like this, then you shouldn't have to think about the ratios and all these things. They've done some of the heavy lifting for you, essentially. So shall we pop the two plants up? I mean, this is not going to be the star of the whole situation, but I thought, as I said, let's have a look and let's experiment and see. For the people that have been around, they know that I use my moisture meter for more things than just measuring moisture. So as I said, just to make this a bit more homogeneous, I'm going to mix the premium one just to make sure that I'm getting all the husk through. And actually, I don't know whether I'm being a bit dumb with it. Let's try something else. This might go horribly wrong because people might be able to figure out what I'm just about to do. So I'm just going to mix it like this. So far it's working. I'm not like spilling everything on the ground, which is what I thought was going to happen. So let's have a look. This is the premium mix, so I'm just going to add it in at the moment. I'm doing everything on my lap as well, so apologies if it's a bit wobbly. So getting a good layer at the bottom there. So that is a decent layer at the bottom there, and I will then add in this one. Trying to decide which one of the two. So adding in the cutting that has got those unctuous roots, and I might try to get it in a bit higher, just so it's got a bit more space to grow towards the bottom there. And I will continue adding in sticks. Always remember to cap the sides just to make sure that everything is kind of going in as much as possible and filling all those nooks and crannies. And I won't do my usual trick. I don't know, does anybody else do this where you kind of overfill the pot and you're just like, I haven't left any space to water. When I water, everything spills over. Doesn't matter how many years I'm doing this, I still make that mistake. I get over eager. I do get over eager. Right. So there we go. And I will actually show you, you can still see some of the roots there coming through on the clear pot, which is why I wanted to use this. I will water this after the video, after I've finished filming the video basically, but that's one done. This is the premium mix. My memory is okay. Anybody who knows me well knows that is the case. Right, and now I've got the general mix. And I want to add that in as well. Same situation, same clear plastic cup with the drainage at the bottom. Oh, this has also got some nice chunky bits on here as well. So both of these are actually quite good. Right, let's add that in. There's slightly less routage on this one. So I will add this at the top. And I want to keep that. There's a bit of a growth point at the very top there. So I want to keep that above soil level if possible. So let's do this without spilling everything, although I'm pretty sure it would make great content as I spill everything onto my lap. And that wasn't planned because Sunday. It's a bank holiday here. I'm assuming it might be a bank holiday for other people when I'm filming this because I am filming this around the May Day bank holiday. So around bank holiday that we have in the UK, which is to do with the 1st of May, which surprisingly this year, I think Monday is the 1st of May. I might be wrong. So this time around, it actually does pan out that we're doing it on the same day that it is happening. And you might be able to see on some of this that you can see some of the roots there as well. So yeah, let me clean up and our soil is everywhere. So just in wrapping up, I wanted to kind of go over the ingredients and just do them side by side. So general and premium. And we can see both of the mixes have got cooper coir. Both of the mixes have got worm castings. Worm castings. Both of them have got the charcoal in it, and both have got the tree bark. So that is good. So that is where they're the same. The thing which kind of sets the premium one apart is that there is that addition of the cocoa husk and the lava rock. Both quite good ingredients in their own right in terms of what they do within the soil mix. So I did mention that you can customize both of these depending on kind of how you want to go. But I would imagine both of these soil mixes would be excellent in terms of growing your houseplants in. And just in wrapping up, I did want to thank both Joseph and Kyle for sending me the soil mixes. I am so looking forward to seeing how this little experiment goes. And I know it's looking a bit lanky, but for anybody that's seen my Burley Marks variegata video, they know that the parent plant was pretty much a tree. So this is why these are a bit the way that they are, basically. But all right, before I forget, I made the label and everything. This is what I do, and then I'm just like, which one was which? Label, yeah? So yeah, I will see how these go, and I will give you an update in a future video, whether or not it will get its own dedicated update video, or whether or not it will be part of another video. I do not know at this point. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to touch on this. As I said, I will add all the links down below. But hopefully you've enjoyed. If you did, as I've mentioned on previous videos, I am trying to grow the channel this year, so feel free to like and share with anybody that you think might find this video useful, or possibly even the soil mixers themselves. And yeah, I will let you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I shall see you here soon. Thanks. Bye.